Chapter 18:12, Sacrifice to the Gods. 3 missions have already been accepted, and there are only 2 demon god bodies left. Some in the group of mutants, who were still hesitant, began to panic. In the end, the mission for Jin was taken by the Cardinal of the Holy Roman Church. The mission for Gung was taken by the 8 tribes of Brahma led by Emperor Indra. This was not a simple combat mission, and everyone knew that it contained great danger, so thorough preparations were required. The first thing Zhang Yi did was to go to Prodaja and ask for a large amount of combat supplies once again. Although Prodaja was furious, he thought that Zhang Yi was dealing with Ding, the 4th-ranked demon god, and the task was very difficult. In the end, he had to bear the pain and provide Zhang Yi with a large amount of equipment. The various mutant troops got busy. They obtained the most detailed information from Fremons, then planned the roadmap and formulated a battle plan. No one dared to be careless, and no one was stupid enough to head straight for their destination. Zhang Yi was considered the most unhurried of these teams. This was because he didn't need to consider the time it would take to travel, and the problem of exposing himself on the road. So after returning to his quarters, he immediately gathered everyone together. Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin were excluded, as they had been busy decrypting the demon god's body and the data in the memory chip. Zhang Yi knocked on the table, and everyone's eyes turned to him. Zhang Yi said, "After a few days of rest, everyone has adjusted quite a bit. I have already accepted the combat mission, and we will head to the Atoa Federation next. This time, our opponent is the demon god Ding. Fremons has provided information on the number of the opponent's aircraft and other intelligence. It belongs to a large military group, with more than 30,000 combat aircraft and 20,000 engineering aircraft. There are also 5 super-large mechanical life forms. The combat power of these is easy to judge, but we don't know the strength of the demon god Ding at what level." Zhang Yi smiled wryly as he continued, "But don't worry about that. Liang Yu, Deng Shintong, Flower, and the Volt Shadow Troop, you will handle those battle groups. As for the demon god Ding, I will handle it." Bai Li Changqing stood with his arms crossed, and suddenly asked, "What about the Reaper of Love?" Zhang Yi shook his head. "No such plans at the moment. The Reaper of Love is too destructive, destroying all those mechanical life forms. Are we going to collect scrap metal? They're all good things, don't waste them. Missiles carrying Reaper of Love bullets are too obvious an attack target and will almost certainly be shot down. Zhang Yi could use his abilities to detonate it at close range. But based on his judgment of the demon god's body, this should not have a very good effect. That kind of all-round defensive force field is second only to his everything under heaven in defensive power. Coupled with a strong steel body, the Reaper of Love really may not be effective." Deng Shintong said, "We now have a large amount of information on mechanical life forms, and dealing with those fleets will not be difficult. It's just, what are you going to do with the demon god Ding?" Zhang Yi slowly extended 2 fingers. 2 possibilities. First, Ding is an upgraded version of demon god Gui, with various performance improvements based on demon god Gui. If that's the case, I have a way to deal with it. He can't break my defenses, and I can hold him off in a dogfight. Either I can take him out directly, or I can wait for you to finish off your opponents and come help. The second possibility is that Ding possesses abilities that demon god Gui does not. But even so, his strength cannot possibly reach a level that can overwhelm me. Otherwise, on the day Karen City fell, there would be no survivors in the Pantheon. Therefore, I have a rough idea of his strength. In that case, I can at least guarantee that his life will not be in danger in front of him. Then I will give you a reminder to always be prepared to escape. So don't disperse at the very beginning of the battle. I will initiate the first attack and create battlefield conditions favorable to us." After hearing this, the group nodded. They could only obediently listen to Zhang Yi's tactical arrangements. After all, they really couldn't help with how to deal with the demon god Ding. Deng Shintong asked, "When do we move?" Zhang Yi asked Yang Xinxin and Lu Karen, "When do we move?" Lu Karen replied, 2 days. Yang Xinxin replied, 3 days. Zhang Yi nodded. Okay, 3 days it is. Fatty Su came over with a smile and whispered in Zhang Yi's ear, Boss, aren't you being a bit biased towards Miss Yang? Be careful, Miss Lu might not be happy. Zhang Yi glanced at him and said, What the hell do you know? Do you really think that I've been sitting here every day just watching them, doing nothing? Karen needs 2 days to get ready, and Xinxin needs 3. Then I must wait 3 days and make full preparations before taking action. The preparation period was long, and over the next few days, the demon gods appeared one after the other. The remaining 9 demon gods all appeared, and the Mechanical Legion's excavation work also accelerated significantly. The judgment made by the Fremons and other countries was that mechanical civilization was close to what they were looking for. And that mysterious thing must be a huge treasure. The mutant beast teams that had previously acted had more or less obtained good things, so they also believed this without a doubt. So they also successively took on the next combat missions. The Fremons' mutant beast army, led by Newton and Brian, took on the task of defeating the demon god E. The demon godren, the Europa Alliance, the Asgard Temple. The demon god G, the Kutan Empire, the shadow demon army of the great Emperor Saladin. The demon god Jia was taken on by the Roman Pantheon, also from Europe, and Jupiter, the god of the Pantheon. The Europa Alliance at this time was not the same as in the past. Some countries with great power broke away from the alliance, while others merged due to the conquests of powerful people. The most obvious example was the Kutan Empire led by Saladin, which integrated more than a dozen small countries between Asia and Europe to form a new empire with a vast territory. Of course, in addition to the areas protected by the demon god's body, there were also Mechanical Legion forces operating throughout Fremons, and these areas were left to be suppressed by teams of mutants from weaker countries. Zhang Yi needed 3 days to make full preparations, but not everyone had his patience. Many people were already impatient to act after receiving their orders. For example, the team from the Roman Holy See set off for the ruins of a huge nuclear power plant in the Ila Union Federal Region. Pantheon. Morana gathered half of the strongest mutants, including Thunder God Perrin Alexei and Luna Jussenberg, and prepared to set off for the area where Demon God Yi was located. They had a brief encounter with a number of demon gods when Karen City fell, so they knew exactly how strong they were. Therefore, for this battle, Morana did not take any chances and gathered a strong force. The reason they chose Demon God Yi as the target this time is because B is located in the area that is their capital, Karen, in Fremons. Pradaja hurriedly came to stop Morana when he knew she was preparing to lead the troops into battle. Morana, are you moving a little too hastily? This battle is definitely going to be very dangerous. Why don't you let the people from Chaos, King Arthur, Columbia, and the Holy Roman Church go first to test the waters? Wait until they have successfully defeated their formidable enemies, and then unite them to fight against the upper demon god Yi. Pradaja exhorted Morana with excitement. No one would dispute that Morana was the most powerful mutant in Fremons. She was like a sharp sword, the most powerful but also the most vulnerable to damage, otherwise the entire Fremons would be in turmoil. At such times, he envied the Huashu kingdom, which had 2 mutants of bishop level. When Zhang Yi was away, at least Hotu could defend the Huashu kingdom. However, in recent years, the power of Fremons had also declined significantly, and it ranked low internationally in terms of both population and economic strength. The fact that they had been able to produce a mutant of bishop level was still a blessing from heaven, and they had spent resources on her cultivation at any cost. Pradaja could not tolerate anything happening to Morana. Morana's gaze was always cold, not directed at anyone in particular, but just the way she was born. Karen City must be retaken by us ourselves. Otherwise, Fremon's shame cannot be washed away. Over the years, Fremons has been belittled by many countries due to several battlefield defeats. At one point, we even almost lost our status as a leader. This time, there is finally an opportunity for teams of mutants from all over the world to gather here. I must prove here that Fremons is still strong. No one can shake it. Pradaja wanted to say something more, but when he saw Morana's ice-blue eyes, which radiated a strong sense of pride and confidence, he swallowed those words back. Good. Progaja nodded, then let's fight together. Let's win this battle beautifully. As an administrative official, he is an important presence in leading logistics, which is a country's top priority in today's post-apocalyptic environment. Although his personal combat power is not outstanding, in a real decisive battle, intelligence and resource supply are extremely important. He will lay the battlefield for Morana and the others. This time, Morana was well prepared, deploying 5 Epsilon-level mutants alone. In addition to the 3 mentioned above, the other 2 are Vulcan Darius Borg, with a supernatural ability index of 19,000 points, and Hades Velis, with 18,000 points. The combat effectiveness of such a team of mutants is truly astonishing. After all, 2 Epsilons who are close to the strength of the Black Chariots, 2 Black Chariots, and a White Bishop are enough to start a huge storm anywhere in the world. In this battle, they not only have to win, they also have to win beautifully. Everyone else set off one after the other, because the demon god might not necessarily wait for them in one place. Zhang Yi waited for 3 days, until 3 days later, after Lu Karen and Yang Xinxin had finished their work. Yang Xinxin lowered her hands from the supercomputer. There was an unfading trace of fatigue in her eyes. Even the strongest brain can become fatigued from overthinking. However, there was an irrepressible excitement in the depths of her eyes. Yang Xinxin directly transmitted a file to Zhang Yi and said, "Brother, I need to rest for a while. If there's anything, just call me." Zhang Yi's intelligence system immediately gained a large amount of data and quickly distilled the source. Zhang Yi gave a relaxed smile at the sight. "Well, get some rest. I'll take care of things from here." Time had come, and Zhang Yi took a brand new bracelet from Lu Karen's hands and walked out of shadow space. At this time, Deng Shentong's Heavenly God Squad and Bai Li Changqing's Volt Shadow Troop were all ready to go, waiting to head straight to the battlefield. After Zhang Yi came out, he looked at everyone and just gave a smile. "Let's go." "Yes, Supreme Excellency." The shouts of the Volt Shadow Troop members resounded through the sky. Zhang Yi's smart device confirmed the coordinates of the Atoa Federation area, positioned it according to the high-energy reaction zone, then opened the dimensional gate and led everyone in that direction. Atoa Federation area. This was once the scope of the human city, but now, there are almost no remnants of human architecture to be seen in the entire Federation zone. The major cities have been almost completely destroyed. Dense clouds in the sky hide the sky, and there is a gloomy atmosphere below. At this moment, a dull sound came from the earth, and the sound echoed in all directions, as if the earth had collapsed. The next moment, a huge red pillar of light shot up into the sky, directly dispersing the clouds. That terrifying energy fluctuation possessed a power that was beyond the reach of the era's thermal weapons. The clouds were pushed apart, revealing the scarred and frozen earth below. Everywhere you looked, there was the activity of mechanical life forms. There were dozens of dark caves, some hundreds of kilometers in diameter, others tens of kilometers. Above the ruins, a demon god covered in black armor crouched on top of a collapsed building, looking up at the sky. He looks a bit like an ancient knight from the Huashu kingdom wearing a helmet, because he has a piece of black helmet-like armor on his head, and from the back of his head extends a huge cloak made of shimmering armor pieces. It looks like a huge prehistoric centipede lying on the back of a giant, and there is even a strange beauty in the strangeness. He looked up at the sky, where the clouds were stirred apart, no longer able to hide what he wanted to see. In the boundless expanse of the sky, a huge polyhedron could be seen floating there, as if the eye of a god was overlooking the world. The gods created this huge eye to gaze upon the world, and mortals sacrifice with blood to please the gods, said the demon god Ding. The words spoken by demon god Ding came from the 6 Wings King who ruled over them. He did not understand the meaning of these words. He was only following the orders of the 6 Wings to create chaos in this land. Then, attract the weak surface races to come. And then, kill. It was as simple as that. So, literally speaking, their battle was similar to a kind of sacrifice, trying to attract the gods that observe the world and receive rewards. Perhaps what they were single-mindedly trying to find was related to this matter. It's just that demon god Ding couldn't understand the point of it all. Those weak and backward races, whose technological level was like that of underground reptiles, had fought so hard against their engineering vehicles. Did such an arrangement make sense? Demon god Ding pondered for a moment. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but for him it really didn't make much sense. After all, for him, life was not even a meaningful thing. Just as he was thinking this, he suddenly sensed an unusual aura in the air. He looked up at the sky, his eyes fixed on a certain point in the void. Suddenly, the clear sky was ripped open. A very large opening. A multitude of dark gun barrels and cannon mouths extended from the opening, targeting the entire ground. The next moment, hundreds of thousands of gun barrels and cannon mouths roared in unison. Zhang Yi and the others had arrived on the battlefield. Having looted the two Fremon's armories, they naturally didn't do it for the sake of collecting, but so that they could be put to use in a pinch. Such as now. The area where the demon god Ding was located had a very strong energy response, and not only were there the previous engineering unit mechanical life forms, but there were also tens of thousands of combat-type mechanical life forms. Their combat effectiveness was incomparable to what Zhang Yi had encountered when he first arrived in Fremon's. Zhang Yi never saves resources during battle. In order to win, and to ensure that no one around him is killed or injured, he will unceremoniously pour out ammunition. Almost half of the ammunition in the entire temporary capital of Fremon's is in his hands, and there are millions of artillery shells alone. Not to mention the bullets, which are at the level of billions. In an instant, it rained iron from the sky. Bang! 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 Countless tongues of fire roared down from the sky, indiscriminately attacking all mechanical life forms on the ground. When those mechanical life forms realized the attack, their eyes suddenly turned scarlet. Alert! Alert! Enemy attack detected, prepare for battle. A mechanical voice sounded over the battlefield. The first thing they did was to face the sky and deploy their own defensive force fields. One after the other, these defensive force fields covered the entire land, and in an instant, they collided intimately with the dense rain of iron. Rumble! The sound of explosions filled the air, and the barrage of bullets in midair continued to pour out without stopping. Zhang Yi was suspended in midair, his eyes staring fiercely at the battlefield below and the most dangerous demon god, Ding. His goal was very clear. In the initial stages of the battle, he would directly use up all the ammunition in the two armories. Demon god Ding looked at Zhang Yi, and what he saw in his eyes was a complex data stream. Target confirmed, codename time and space, data synchronization complete, optimal combat plan deployed. Demon god Ding looked up at Zhang Yi, and the next moment, a demonic eye-like object suddenly appeared on the top of the conical hat on his centipede-like head. At the center of the demonic eye was a large red energy crystal. He aimed the demonic eye at Zhang Yi and instantly released a powerful energy cannon. It was hard to describe it as an energy cannon anymore, because it was a red energy beam with a diameter of more than 200 meters, rushing directly towards the sky and towards Zhang Yi. On Zhang Yi's side, the intelligence system promptly flew out feedback based on the energy level. Energy body attack detected. Preliminary judgment result of ability index, 36,000 points. I got it. Zhang Yi's voice was cold and indifferent. His left eye, the original pupil, had already distorted and changed, quickly becoming the shape of an old pocket watch. A second hand slowly and steadily moved. The power of the second hand of time was enough to allow him to foresee the next 3 seconds of events around him. Everything under heaven's gates of 3,000 realms were in front of him, guarding him fiercely, leaving no gaps. His supernatural ability index is 32,000 points, while the strength of the enemy he is facing is around 36,000 points. Considering that the body can burst out of overload and exceed normal levels of attack, it can even temporarily reach a level of 40,000 points. Therefore, the advantage is on Zhang Yi's side. Boom! A powerful red energy pillar shot towards Zhang Yi, and when it touched the dimensional gate, it sank directly into it. The continuous energy caused the dimensional gate to fluctuate significantly. However, this level of trial attack was not enough to destroy it. Zhang Yi countered with a full counterattack, and from the other dimensional gate, he returned the attack intact to the demon god Ding. The faster the attack came, the faster it went back. Ding looked up at the sky, and suddenly took out a slender and long weapon with his right hand. It could be considered a spear, but it also looked like a large pair of iron tongs. The spear was held above his head, and an invisible barrier was raised like an umbrella. All the energy that fell on his head was dispersed to the sides along the curved surface of the barrier. The earth was instantly reduced to countless particles of dust. But the figure of the demon god Ding instantly disappeared from view. What speed! Zhang Yi had seen the fighting power of demon god Gui and knew that the movement speed of this type of combat robot was even faster than that of the most advanced fighter jets. But this speed, which was like teleportation, still made him slightly frown. Fortunately, he never relied on his eyes to locate the position of a person. Instead, he relied on the second hand of time to predict the future. No matter how fast you are, your position at a certain moment in the future is fixed, and this result cannot be changed. At this point, the extravagant play of the Lord of War has already had a huge effect. It is true that the defensive force field of the mechanical life form can defend against attacks, but it is not invincible and consumes energy as well. In the eyes of mechanical life forms, the heat weapon attacks of humans, a very primitive species, pose a huge threat as long as there are enough of them and their energy levels are high enough. As tens of millions of shells and bullets fall, explosions have already filled the battlefield and a large number of machines have been destroyed. Zhang Yi, however, had no intention of stopping the attack. After all, the ammunition in the two arsenals could not be used up even if hundreds of thousands of guns and cannons were used, and the explosions had already destroyed a large number of machines.